Constitution, and it's scenario-based where we put the officers in what we call shoot, don't shoot situations. And to follow up on that, anytime one of my officers draws their weapon from their holster, we consider that a use of force. The supervisor has to respond to the scene, interview the officer, interview whoever they pointed that weapon at, try to find any witnesses to make sure we have a full understanding of what occurred. The other thing I tried to do is make sure that my supervisors and managers understand the big picture, and trying to bring all this around that we are guardians of our Constitution, just like all of you. This democracy works because we all have a duty and responsibility to participate in it and protect the Constitution, because if one segment of our community is oppressed and don't feel part of the American dream, they don't have hope. We're all oppressed, and we all are being held back.
Do you believe that race and racism is a contributing factor to incidents of police brutality? Why or why not?
Yes and no. I do. I believe race and racism is a contributing factor, but not. It's just not blanketed. It's not that simplistic. As I said earlier, most of these incidents have racial overtones because that's the society that we have. We're constantly evolving. I can be very, very honest with you guys. When I was picking my career, this is why I wanted to be a law enforcement officer, 12 years old. Me and my friends, we talked about we would never see an African American president. Who would have thought? The world continues to change, and mainly changes when, again, the majority of people get involved in the democratic process and our Constitution, freedoms and liberties. And you look at this past weekend, the Gay Pride, just things continue to evolve, and it's they're not evolving from our political institutions, and they're evolving from the people. It's being led from the people up, and our governmental institution and our courts are trying to catch up. That's why it's important for when you turn 17 and a half or 18, one of the first things that you guys need to do is go register and vote. And so when you start talking about whether it's race, racism, or whatever, I don't care if it's an election for dog catcher, you have to participate. And it signals a message to whomever's in office that you care and that you're watching and you're participating. The first thing that a mayor does is select who's going to be the police chief. And does the police chief have, if you have a minority community, does the police chief have to be a minority? No. But the police chief has to have a heart and a head that he or she is sensitive to the issues of that community. Now, going back to the community policing philosophy, that police chief has to be culturally confident, that can go into any of those communities and stand up, talk to people, make sure that he or she understands what their issues are, and he or she has to explain what the police can and cannot do.
Have you personally witnessed racial profiling taking place during your time as a law enforcement official?
Well, I've seen racial profiling, incidents of racism in law enforcement. As I said before, I've worked in 6 different agencies, three different states. This is my 36th year as a law enforcement officer. So I've seen a lot. I actually was the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit for discrimination against one of the agencies that I worked at for a whole bunch of different reasons. And the reason that we sued the agency is for institutional racism. And as we try to go through and force changes, that's when I really, I learned and started to understand you can't say what somebody's actually thinking or what somebody actually feels. You don't know. However, if the actions lead one to believe that there's race involved, racism involved, it's like A, B, C. If A, B, C, then D. If A, B, C, D, then E. You know, I was at one of the agency that we sued. They were selling knives that said "Loyal Order of the KKK," and had a little guy in the Klan outfit on the other side of the knife in the courthouse. One of our officers, and I can just go on and on the different things as myself and my fellow African American officers came together, and we started comparing stories about things that we had experienced, roadblocks to promotion, things that we had seen. The officers, some of our white counterpart officers, do the various African American, Hispanic American citizens. You know, we felt that we were experiencing institutional racism, and we stood up and took a stand.
What steps are you taking to improve the relationship between BART police officers and the riders of BART?
Well, we try to make it easier for people to talk to us. We go out and talk to them. I try to lead by example, so when I'm invited to do stuff like this, I come. I try to make sure my officers do the same thing. We go to churches. We've started what we call an Explorer program, where we have youth that were like me when I was growing up, wanted to be in law enforcement, but had no idea how to get involved. Where police officers are mentoring them, and they come into our department, and they go on ride-alongs, and we teach them the things that we do. But one of the biggest thing for our connection with our commuters and our community is we have what we call a Citizens Review Board, an Office of Independent Police Auditor. And they review everything, any complaints that we investigate. If a citizen is not satisfied with our outcome when they make a complaint against one of my officers, they can go to the Citizen Review Board and publicly air their grievance. And I would invite any class like this, or history class, government class, throughout the year. You guys should come to one of the meetings. They're at the first Monday of the month, and view democracy in action. It brings accountability.
What must happen to improve this relationship from the rider's end?
The riders have to accept their responsibility. As I said before, all you guys, that you have to participate in your democracy. You can't get mad and protest and have all this anger, and you're not channeling it in a positive way, that something else is going to come out of it. If you're not registered to vote, or even if you are registered to vote, you should be trying to convince somebody else to actually register to vote and actually go out and vote. You guys need to participate in your city council, people. You need to participate in Citizen Review Board. You need to participate in elections in Sacramento, participate in the national elections, because no one person can usher in the future of change. But every one of us has the ability to stand where they are and impact the here and now. So each of you have not just a right, you have a duty and responsibility of the giants that came before us, that allowed you guys now to sit in this classroom. I would imagine 100 years ago, as I look at the faces in this classroom, probably wouldn't have been able to come up here. I certainly would not be able to be the police chief 100 years ago. And so all of these things, all of these changes that have occurred is because of the people who sacrificed so much for us to be where we are today, and that our responsibility and our duty is to participate in our democratic process.
That's it.
follow-up questions, and we can like open it up to like the class and stuff as well.
You said you're